Not last week, not next month, but precisely now in this exact instance. Perhaps you've experienced loss, or you're wrestling with your direction, your struggles, or your purpose. Maybe you've even wondered, God, why do you seem so quiet? I urge you to pay close attention, because this isn't just a video, it's a divine signal, not from me, but from the one who formed you and still holds a purpose for you regardless of your past, your errors, or your beliefs. This message is meant for you. In the coming moments, you'll uncover why things unraveled, why the quiet was essential, why your suffering wasn't a penalty, and what steps you need to take moving forward. This could be the message that transforms your life entirely. So, inhale deeply and open your soul, because sometimes the guidance you've been seeking doesn't roar like a storm, it whispers like this. Part 1. The burden you've kept silent. You've been holding something weighty, perhaps for months or even years, a pain you've hidden, masking it with a facade of strength. You grin at your job, share laughter with friends, but when darkness falls and you're alone, the quiet screams louder than your resilience. Maybe you've lost a loved one, had your heart shattered, or watched your aspirations crumble despite your efforts. Perhaps you're exhausted from always being the pillar when no one checks if you're still holding up inside. You've prayed, wept, and muffled your cries into your pillow, yet no response came. You thought, God, where are you? Maybe you even started to believe you'd been abandoned. But here's the revelation no one shared with you. Sometimes, God dismantles your blueprints not to wound you, but to shield you, because what you were constructing was on the verge of breaking you. You were pursuing people who didn't value you, stepping into spaces that weren't yours, clinging to ambitions that weren't meant for you. So, he cleared them away not as punishment, but because he saw what you couldn't, the road ahead. You saw only the present. He saw eternity. And here you are, still breathing, still pushing forward. That, in itself, is evidence. You're already in motion. That's why you're alive. That's why you're here, receiving this message. You didn't arrive here by chance. He was crafting while you were grieving. He was shaping you while you were fracturing. He was listening, even in his silence. You thought it was the end, but it was merely the start. The agony you feared would ruin you is now the fuel for your ascent. Let me emphasize something vital. Place God above all, before achievements, before vengeance, before others' judgments. When God is your priority, everything else aligns, even if it unfolds slowly. Perhaps you're still fearful of what lies ahead, of the unknown, of being overlooked. But let me pose a question. When was the future ever predictable? We fret over what we can't govern, but the truth is, control was never ours to claim. All we can do is release, not quit. Release. Release to God. Release your anguish. Release your demands. Release your schedule. Trust that what's destined for you will arrive in a way you couldn't foresee, through a path you didn't choose, at a moment you didn't anticipate. You're not too late, too shattered, or forgotten. You're being forged in stillness, in shadows, in uncertainty. God doesn't reveal the entire blueprint because you'd flee from it, not embrace it. Instead, he offers the next move, then another, one step at a time. That's not postponement, it's care. And right now, he's whispering, trust me, you're nearer than you realize. Part 2. Why nothing came together. There were times you poured out everything, your energy, your faith, your heart. You labored tirelessly, prayed fervently, chose the right path, even when it was grueling. Yet, it didn't succeed. The relationship dissolved. The opportunity passed. The restoration didn't come. The people you cherished drifted away. Deep inside, you began to wonder, if I gave my all, if I believed so fiercely, why did it collapse? You thought perhaps God was chastising you, overlooking you, or favoring others while bypassing you. But here's the reality. It didn't falter because you were unworthy. It faltered because it wasn't your fate. It didn't succeed because it wasn't meant to. What you sought wasn't aligned with the greater purpose. You were pleading for the wrong gates to unlock, and when it stayed shut, you felt forsaken. But let me share something profound. Sometimes, unanswered pleas are the ultimate safeguard. You didn't fail, you were being preserved. That relationship you mourned, You don't know the chaos it might have wrought. That job that turned you away. You don't know the snare it could have been. That person who walked away. You don't know what God saw in their shadow. You wept over a shattered vision, but God was weaving a superior one in the background. You see, He's not just the God of your now, He's the God of your always. You see only the instant. He sees the whole journey. When you were grieving, His silence wasn't cruelty, it was guidance. You don't erect a sturdy home on shaky soil. So, He cleared what was unstable, delayed what wasn't ripe, broke what threatened to crush you. That's why nothing panned out, because something greater was being sculpted within you. You craved external change, but God sought internal renewal. You prayed, God, alter my circumstances, and He murmured, let me transform your spirit. The waiting, the bewilderment, the setbacks all were groundwork. God never squanders suffering, He repurposes it. Your silence forged your fortitude. Your rejection clarified your path. Your delays deepened your insight. Your heartbreak enriched your compassion. You weren't being penalized, you were being readied. To the one receiving this in solitude, you gave your best, and it didn't succeed because it wasn't supposed to. You're not lagging, you're being guided forward. Not by your design, but by God's. And His design doesn't falter. You sought a gift. He gave you a lesson not out of harshness, but because the lesson will sustain you longer than the gift ever could. Don't dwell on what could have been. Don't wonder, what if it had worked? It didn't, and that's the greatest mercy. You were spared from something to be saved for something else. One day, you'll reflect and say, I'm thankful it didn't work, because I wouldn't be who I am now. You don't need to grasp the journey, just trust the hands guiding it. That's faith. Not comprehension, but surrender. Surrender to the one who saw dangers you missed, who blocked what could harm you, and who is now quietly crafting something extraordinary, something that doesn't just seem good, but feels like belonging, offering peace, not pain, clarity, not chaos, and love, not loss. Part 3. The purpose you can't yet see. Let's be real, you crave clarity. You want signs, answers, to know if the struggle is leading anywhere or if you're just wasting time, hoping for something that may never arrive. You don't want hollow promises or vague hope, you want something tangible, a reason to believe you're not just enduring for nothing. Here's a truth you've never heard. God's most potent purposes often start unseen. Why? Because if He revealed the full scope, you doubt it, sabotage it, or try to rush it. That's why He doesn't offer complete clarity, He offers quiet preparation. When a tree begins to grow, its roots delve into the dark soil before anything emerges above. For weeks, even months, there's no visible progress. Passers-by might say, things happening, but beneath, something mighty is forming, roots spreading, foundations solidifying. Then, suddenly, the tree breaks through and soars. Your life mirrors this. You don't see progress because God is cultivating your roots, your resilience, character, wisdom, and capacity to hold what you're praying for. Without roots, success would topple you. You're not stalled or waiting in vain, you're being prepared. But you're wondering, how long must I wait? What if I've waited too long? What if nothing shifts? Hear this. Faith isn't forged in ease, it's shaped in uncertainty. If you understood everything, it wouldn't be faith, it'd be control. God doesn't seek your control, He seeks your trust. Not naive belief, but seasoned faith that says, even if I see no change, I know something's unfolding. Sometimes, the purpose is the process itself, not just reaching a goal, but who you become en route. Reflect on what you once wept over, the people you thought you needed, the failures you feared would end you, the mistakes you thought were final. You survived, healed, grew. Now, you see those weren't punishments, they were preparation. That's how God's purpose unfolds. He doesn't grant your desires on your timeline, but equips you to carry them when you're ready. You weren't ignored, you were trained. If life feels stagnant, you're in the crucial phase, the one where nothing makes sense, where others don't get you, where you walk alone, exhausted yet standing. That's the sacred space where true change happens, not the start, not the finish, but the in-between. That's where God forges warriors, strips pride, reveals who's false and who's true, and teaches you to walk by faith, not sight. If you've wondered why life feels so still, why you're not advancing, your soul already knows. Quiet seasons aren't barren, they're divine. They're when God does his deepest work within you. Outwardly, nothing may shift, but inwardly, you're being honed, molded, purified for something grander. You may not grasp it today. The pain may still weigh heavy, the sense of being overlooked may linger, but you're not forgotten, you're concealed. Concealed from those who'd exploit you, from settings that'd break you, from timing that'd crush you. You're not behind, you're being placed. Placed for something requiring strength you didn't have before. That's why the purpose is hidden, because it's not complete. God doesn't unveil